Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Cynical Marketers, episode 32. Thank you for joining us again for another week. We do appreciate it.
Yep.
We're ticking towards the end of summer, slowly but surely.
I know. Wild.
This week, here's what we're talking about. Mistakes we have made that we wouldn't do again. You know, I know we like to talk on our podcast about how perfect and how smart I am, and I'm such a genius, but
you are.
Talk about some mistakes. No, I have made, if there are things that I know, you know, like for most folks, you know, your knowledge is painfully earned for the most part.
Yeah, true.
And it's from surviving mistakes, and not even really, like I've had mistakes that I, you know, very nearly didn't come back from. I still haven't come back from one. That's what we're going to talk about here. Some of our mistakes as business owners, really, not personal stuff. This is business owner stuff.
Yeah, no, we don't want to open up that can of worms on the personal side.
Yeah, anyone cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares on that.
Right.
But we have learned some
stuff, or even our business.
Well, I mean, we have learned some things over the years for sure, both being on the corporate side, being small business owners, working with small business owners. Gosh, I feel like we have like a laundry list. So
I will say right now, for me, like one of the biggest mistakes I have made, and I will never do it again, that actually, I mean, cost me literal millions of dollars. I will never, ever take VC money ever again. And I don't think that's ever going to happen to me. I'm unlikely to ever be in a position to have that, but I would never. And I caution people against it, but I will not do that. I had two other partners, and even if I had voted against it, they were on it. And I won't say I was against it at the time when we were at Gun Style and we were talking about it. I was for it. I was excited. I was excited about it. And it turned out to be an allowing of a vampire into your house then. And it was a loss of control, and ended up me losing my position and everything that I had as a part of it. I lost it all because of allowing that in. And I wouldn't do it again, because if you're growing a business to the point, the investors in that never come into your business when you need them. They're only going to come in when you've already proven it and you're growing. And now, you know, now they want to be a part of it.
Right.
You know, so I really do, you know, man, I recommend against it. I wouldn't do it again. I just wouldn't do it again. It was, again, I compare it to that, you know, inviting a vampire into your home, because you really do lose control. And then you took this money and now you have to listen to these folks, and they don't care about your brand,
about the bottom line,
your business, your customers. They want an ROI on that investment. That is the one and only thing they care about.
Yep.
And so they weren't there when you were building all this stuff. You're building relationships with customers. You're building this loyal fan base. You have all these people that you feel connected to, and you're like, we have really built this awesome thing. And now we're going to bring in these investors to take it to the next level. The investors do not care about what got you to A to B point here. They don't care about any of these people.
Yep.
Or the people that were on your team, right, to get you there. In fact, it was a concern of mine too, is that I'm like, man, I'm the marketing guy. I don't have a degree from Stanford. I'm not a West Coast marketing dude. I was a restaurant general manager just several years before that. Like, I'm going to get booted.
Yeah.
They're going to say, like, you don't know what you're doing, even though you built this thing. I don't know. I just won't do it again.
Yeah, that was an interesting, I think that I was there for part of that experience. And I think that was, you know, I shake my head no every time somebody says they were offered an investment partner. And I think we've also spoken to and worked with some brands who have gotten, you know, investors. And when you talk to them, you can see from the business owner side, everything has to be run by the investors. Every bigger decision, every hiring decision, almost in a lot of cases, by the way, not always, I'm sure, but also at the end of the day, your investor cares about how they're going to get their money back, and they care about your bottom line. They're not going to care about, like you said, what got you from that point A from point B. I caution against it every single time. I mean, we've worked with several brands too who have had Shark Tank help, right? And those seem to be okay, but I think that's just because those folks, you know, cannot actively be participating in hands-on with so many businesses they invested in. It's just another investment for them. So I think like those guys hadn't really experienced the true, like.
But there's the percentage of successes from Shark Tank is low.
Yeah. And it's,
that happens with VCs.
Right.
The money guys who came into Grunt Style, they would say, we invest in 100 companies, 90 are going to lose.
Right.
90 are going to lose, 6 are going to be okay, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3 maybe that make us all of our money back.
Mm-hmm.
But we're,
but then we're really going to be on those 1, 2, or 3. Like those are going to be the guys.
One of my big ones. I won't take VC money. I won't take VC money ever again. If I'm ever in that position, I would say to cash me out, I would take an exit.
Right.
And let them have it.
Yeah.
Is what I would do in the future. But
I think
it's never going to happen to me again.
You don't know, but also, no, I agree with you on that one. I think my biggest one was pricing and pricing structure. So I think that was my biggest learning experience from running a media business. We did digital and print media. And that was an experience where like you are so in need of clients when you first get started. When you are selling a product that is easily offered everywhere else, it is easy to sort of price yourself out of business. Because the first couple of projects you take and you can take them at a loss, and that's fine. The problem is though, those people will continue to come back to you for that lower price, right? That got them in the door. They're not going to respect any kind of price increase, right? And then just sitting down and really calculating what your profit margins need to look like before you embark on different projects. So we had, I ran a print business from like 2017 to 2019 roughly. And a lot of the way that we were pricing was what is our cost with a markup, right? What we didn't account for, that never accounted for the going through all the materials that you need to complete projects and the cost of that, because we didn't quite know what the cost of that would be until we started working on multiple projects. We never accounted for what if things go wrong, right? And so when we would compare pricing with other companies similar to ours doing like large format printing, we would always be like, why are they so expensive? Like we could do it for this. And then you have something go terribly wrong with the project and now you got to redo it. And you're like, oh, okay, well, this is why, because now you've wasted double the material, double the time, all of those things. You have to sit down and figure out what is your revenue goal and reverse engineer all of that. What is your operational cost if all of your stuff is running at all times? Like you have to actually do the hard, have the hard conversations around what is your cost? What is your, where do you break even? What is your profitability? Because you will, if you constantly offer less than market value because you think you can, if in the perfect world, you will price yourself out of business. It's literally what happens.
Yeah, if you're trying to do that,
you will price yourself
acquisition
out of
strategy. You can sell yourself. We see this in e-commerce where people are offering massive discounts and then you're selling at a loss, where you may have had a big revenue day.
Right.
Hey, we had a $10,000 day today, but you sold it at a 40% discount and wiped out your margins. So that $10,000 in revenue all went to cost.
Right.
There's no profit there, right?
Yeah.
So now you're putting labor into this and, Yeah. So it looked great. If you were just looking at your sales day, you log into your Shopify app and you're like, oh my gosh, look at the sales.
Yeah.
But what's the profit?
That was us the first year of our business. Yeah, that was us the first year. Sorry to interrupt you there, but that was us the first year of a business with me and my, and Manny as my business partner. Our first year in business, we made close to $500,000. Ask me how much of that was actually profit. You know what I'm saying? So on paper, it looks like you're making these great numbers, but at the end of the day, I'm like, we can't pay one of us a salary. So we're clearly doing it wrong. But now you've built a client list and you are a year into the business, learning the hard way that this is not sustainable, so you have to do your math prior to launching your business. Do just even roughly, try to understand it, try to learn from other people doing the same thing as you, not just because somebody else is doing, like they're giving something for free or at a very low cost, you know, and you're like, that's a barrier to entry. I'm going to give away a free t-shirt or I'm going to do whatever. You know, you can literally price yourself out of business because you don't know that other brand, that other company may be doing that because they can. They're making money someplace else, right? I think that's a big thing for me is just pricing and being conscious of your profit margins. Like you have to, if I had to do it all over again, it'd be completely different. You know, I would have probably not even made half of what we made the year one, but we would have been profitable, you know? And so that was one of my biggest ones. What else you got, Mike?
Overhead. Now I didn't fight enough in the past with like ops people and stuff on overhead expenses climbing, you know, and I always was like, stay in your lane, worry about your stuff. But, you know, you really, 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 every business, it doesn't matter who you are, really has to be careful about overhead. And I see this problem happen a lot for businesses who always assume that things are going to stay the way they are or continue to go up. And then they allow their overhead to creep up with revenue, not thinking about a day, what if there's a downturn?
Right.
And then there's so many businesses out there who cannot withstand a bad month, 2 bad months, because your overhead is so massive. You have so many employees. People are quick to want to add headcount because it looks good to say how many employees we have. And they love to put out the notices on LinkedIn about the new hires joining because we're going to raise Series A soon. So we want to show growth and they get fancy offices and they buy all their computer equipment and you have all of these expenses and costs. And you're like, hey, you sell a product for $25. Like, do you know how many of those things you have to sell to pay for that office you want to sign for that looks so cool? Like,
don't even get me started.
People are not, they're always, the only expense any business ever cares about is their marketing expense. That's the only one they will scrutinize. Nope, we can't afford it. Cut that one, but you're like, well, what's your rent? Well, we have to pay rent. I needed this 50,000 square foot facility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't even get me started.
I need 7 people in human resources.
I mean, I literally just lost.
You guys can't hire anybody, but.
Yeah. I mean, I just lost my agency job over it. So, I understand.
Yeah.
Like that was, that was really what Noggin did. Noggin got offices that they didn't need and then laid off a crap ton of us and then closed a month later. I think that's karma, but what do I know?
Yeah. Overhead.
Different story.
And your fixed costs are, businesses don't talk about their fixed costs enough and think about them enough. They just think about it as this block on my P&L that we just need to do this amount of revenue. And, like, hey, and I come from the restaurant business. So this, I think, because in the restaurant business, we manage our P&L, every line item, every penny. Right. My first boss, I was trained on P&L management that pennies turn to dollars. So you manage pennies and you turn off lights everywhere when you're not using them. And, we do all these things. And I just see people that are so careless with costs, thinking that revenue is always going to be there. Yeah. So that's a mistake I would never make again. I will fight over costs much more than allowing anyone just to continue to drive up overhead. Yeah, agreed. I think you have to be smart about your overhead. I think making decisions that make you look good outward, but make your books look like awful are just decisions that you should not make, just don't do not pass go. I don't know. Another one for me, Mike, is, and I think we both kind of share in this one, is take the credit where credit is due. Stop minimizing your contributions to a company. Stop it. This doesn't matter. This is for me coming from a corporate world for many, many years, right? Be your own biggest cheerleader, right? And it's easy to say this to entrepreneurs who, see all these folks out there who are like, yes, talk about your business, your biggest cheerleader and all of that. But just coming out of years of being in corporate America and letting other people take credit for my work,
or minimizing my contribution to the team, or not standing up for myself in situations where I should have, because, you don't want to, like, speak out of place to your boss or whatever it is, right? I think is the absolute biggest mistake I've ever made in my career. I think that people, will look at me and be like, oh yeah, well, she does a good job, and not really go beyond that. Right. And I think there's so many things that I bring to the table that I have for the longest time not, like, have been afraid or just sort of inadvertently conditioned to just shut up and work and not like even stand up in a meeting and be like, oh, but I did that. It wasn't my boss's team, it was me. And so I think for myself, like, if I were to go and do my career over again, I would have been a lot louder about my contributions to things. And now as an entrepreneur, like, having that experience over the last several years or whatever, I think this is something we've talked about, where we just need to do a better job of self-promoting. And I think it's hard for a lot of people to be like, well, look at me, look at how awesome I am, look at all these things that I'm doing. But if your results nobody's going to know about them unless you're talking about them.
I know.
So that, and I know, and you have your own experience with that. But for me, it's like, I'm allowed to take up space here. I have the experience and the years of experience and the skill set needed to take up space here. So, like, that's been my biggest, looking back on 25 plus years of my career.
I made that mistake.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are bad at self-promotion for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing for us too right now in our current business, we do a bad job at it. Because I'm always worried too, like, I don't want to come across like one of a Grant Cardone,
No.
Like, you're out there making outrageous claims about how we're going to 100x. But then, like, if anyone listened to last week's episode, we were talking about people who uploaded their driver's licenses to an app. And I was like, how disappointed I am in humanity, where I always try to think the best of people. And you always think people are smarter than that.
Right.
But then they're not.
So
you're like, Grant Cardone does what he does because it works, apparently.
Right.
But we're like, no, I'm not going to do that. We're going to be the logical people, and we're going to let our work stand and show for itself. And then we send each other examples all the time of these other businesses who do what we do, and they're outrageous
claims
ads and stuff that they're making claims on. You're like, look at that. And you're like, is that what we're supposed to do? Like, it feels dirty, and I don't want to do it. It does
feel dirty. But the thing is, Mike, like, like you had said this before, like, you think that your results are going to speak for themselves, and they won't. Yeah. And it's not just that they won't speak for themselves. It's worse yet when somebody else takes them and speaks for them as if they've done the work. And that's happened to both of us so many different times, that you're like, but I'm good at what I do. Right. But how do I say that without sounding like, I'm bragging, or arrogant. Like, whatever it is, like, that I am, I don't know if it's a humbling thing or an ego thing or whatever. I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm so fantastic. Look at me at all the things that I'm doing. But I do know my job well. So it's been, I'm always like, anytime somebody younger asks me for any kind of advice, I'm like, always like, take up your space, take it up. You earned it. You deserve to be here. Imposter syndromes be damned. Like, I don't, take the credit, take your flowers, if nobody else gives them to you,
have to
take it.
You have to talk about it. I know. And it's hard, and it's still hard for us. It's easy for us to give advice.
Right.
Like doctors are the worst patients. Doctors are, they can't take it from others, but
that would be my advice. It's something that I'm actively working on too,
Me too.
Yeah.
I was accused for years and years and years of being, such a jerk about thinking I was the smartest person in the room. So I've gone all the other way, like being very conscious of that, where I do not want to come across arrogant to people or anything. And I know I used to.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, you're trying to correct back the other way. And I really,
sort of overcorrected.
I don't even want to head down that road. I know I don't want to head down that road either, because like the last time I went that other way, the internet made sure to put me down and put me in a place. And I don't ever want to open myself up to that ever again. So you're like, I don't know. easier to stay quiet.
Right.
So,
but
there we go. There's some mistakes. There's many we've made.
There are for sure. Yeah.
It's a quick hitter one for us here today.
Yeah.
A couple of big things, but so again, talk about yourself. You have to self-promote, business owners, people, even if you're not a business owner. I know that's who we talk to.
Right.
But even if you're working.
Right.
I had a peer at a former company who did a really good job recognizing his employees. And he used to have, at the end of every month, he would have them send him an email of what they accomplished in the month. Beyond just their numbers. This was in a sales job too. So, because he was managing a team of like 12 at the time. So he's like, hey, I'm not going to always remember or see everything you did. And it's not bad, but he would have them send, and then he kept the files of those things too. And then at annual review time, he had all of this stuff and nothing was missed or forgotten. And he was really good about recognizing his team. So that's something if you're out there.
Yeah. I was just going to say.
I would send it to my boss, but send it to yourself so you always have it and copy yourself on it. Say, hey, these are the things I really feel went well this month. Yeah. This is what I'm working on for next month.
That's what I was going to say.
Don't assume people know.
Don't assume people know, because they don't. And then keep it fresh and keep that running list of the things that you've done, because come that annual review, you're going to need that list. Because it's really hard to sit once a year and say, what did I do 9 months ago? Keep a running list of the things that you've done.
On those annual reviews,
I hate the annual.
It always turns into like a recency bias, where your annual review is really a look at your last quarter.
Right.
You know? And if it was going great, you're all happy with it. But what if it's not? And you're like, hey man, I had a good 9 out of 12, but whatever.
Yeah.
So, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Let us know if you've made any mistakes. I'm sure we're the only dummies out here who ever make mistakes.
I'm sure.
But we're quick on this one. Thank you again tuning in. Another episode of the Cynical Marketers. We'll be back next week with some more hard-hitting info. But thank you if you were here. We appreciate everyone listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you.